What's good, everybody? Welcome in to Early Edge Live as we count down to the final game of Week 15. It is Monday Night Football. It is the Rams, the Fighting Baker Mayfields, traveling to an ice-cold Lambeau Field. And all of a sudden, the Green Bay Packers, with some other results over the weekend, now all of a sudden find themselves smack dab in the middle of a playoff race, but they cannot slip at all. So on Monday nights, let's bring in the stars of the show because we got a lot to talk about. We got our best bets. We've got our props. We've got our same-game parlays. We've got it all with these three. First and foremost, live from Nashville, Tennessee, the penthouse level. M Squared, good evening.
Good evening, Coach Proppy. See you. Great to see you guys. Would say I'm fired up for this game. I am fired up for it. It's going to be very interesting to see what Sean McVay and the Rams can cook up after having a little time to prepare here. Not a great spot for him, though.
It does not feel like that. Now, next, he is the most handsome man in all of the Early Edge universe. See, Najad, your hot streak continued through this week as well. Will it continue tonight?
Well, I certainly hope so. Thank you, Brian Robinson. No thank you to the referees who officiated the game last night versus the Giants. But, you know, here's the thing. The weather is going to be a factor, I think. And maybe Mike can talk about it later in the show. But I don't even know what people are talking about. I live in South Florida, and when they say weather, that means like maybe it's going to drizzle or maybe it's going to rain. Apparently, it's cold in other parts of the United States. Is that a thing?
Well, people call me soft out here in Orange County, California, because when it's 60, I'm complaining. So I feel you. I don't even know what else other parts of the country there are. Finally, live from parts unknown. Probably two times. Prop stars. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Coach. Mikey, Cousin Sia. Great to see you guys. A little bit of history will be made tonight as I give out my first individual defensive prop of the season, Coach.
Oh, very nice tease, and we will get to that very, very shortly. If you're brand new to this show, when we do every single primetime game, we do our best bets, props. If you have a prop that you like, and tonight could be one of those stayaways on one side of the fence, but we'll talk about it. Put it into the chat. Add the price, please, the juice. It's very important to my guys so they can answer your question. But before we get to our best bets, C already mentioned the weather. And Mikey, when it gets this cold, I don't know how it affects a game. Please educate us.
Yeah, it has a lot of impact, but really when you get this cold, we're talking 15 actual degrees in the temperature. Pretty big difference from when we think about freezing 32 degrees. Has a pretty big impact once you're below 20. Just becomes harder to grip the football a little bit at times just because of the way your hand feels. As far as the kicking game, it feels like you're kicking a brick at certain times. Air pressure in the ball changes relative to the weather. Knocks about 5 yards off of some of these kicks, maybe more for someone like Matt Gay and the Rams, who's used to kicking indoors almost all of the time. It's a pretty big shift from a baseline. So it's more difficult to throw the ball, more difficult to just be out there existing as a human. It makes a big difference when the wind chill here is going to be about 2 to 3 degrees.
Somewhere there's a little frozen tear going down the face of AB as you talk about field goal kickers and can't play them tonight, perhaps. AB, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. But now, where do we go with our best bets? Knowing what Mikey just said, that the weather absolutely will affect the game tonight. However, Aaron Rodgers historically loves to play in this stuff. His numbers are staggering. In fact, he is 6-1 straight up all time against the Rams specifically, and 7-0 against the spread against the Rams historically. And then there's a bunch of other numbers with him in cold weather. This is an Aaron Rodgers game. Plus, they're talking playoffs in Green Bay. So, Sia, I want to start with you because even though you have a prop on one side, as we always say here on the show, somebody's got to catch the ball.
That's right. Somebody's got to catch the ball. And props to Tyler Miller, no pun intended, who mentions Ben Skoranek. He's the subject of my prop. Not necessarily my first touchdown score, but he's the subject of my prop. I have him over 30.5 receiving yards. This is a relatively low number, and I get it, right? It's Baker Mayfield. You're on the road in very, troubling, at least, weather conditions as it's really cold. But Ben Skoranek might be the best receiver on this offense. I mean, you could argue that versus, let's say, Van Jefferson and Tutu Atwell. But I think in terms of reliability, we're going to see more Ben Skoranek than we're going to see the other receivers. That includes Tyler Higbee, by the way. Last week when they played, he caught 7 of 8 targets for 89 yards. I don't think that efficiency will go unnoticed. And then you add to the fact that listen, you can run on the Packers, certainly, and there's going to be a lot of running involved on both sides of the ball, and that's going to limit possessions for sure, but we're probably going to catch the Rams in a negative game script at some point in this game. And as much as I may not think much of Baker Mayfield, he does have some time now to focus in on his targets like Ben Skoranek. So again, given the negative game script, given the efficiency we saw last week, given the fact that, of course, Cooper Kupp and Allen Robinson are not in this game, this is a very low total. I think Ben Skoranek could get this in potentially 2 catches. It's only 30.5 yards. For the record, he's really good at contested catches too. We saw that at Notre Dame. He's played at Notre Dame, transferred from Northwestern. This is a guy who can go up and get the ball, and I have a feeling that he's going to have to do that with Baker Mayfield as his quarterback. So I do like Ben Skoranek here over 30.5 receiving yards, -115.
And that is an absolutely great place for us to start, because that leads, Sia, right into my first play. And it's Baker Mayfield under 33.5 for his longest completion of the night. When Ben Skoranek is your go-to, you're not going to get down the field. When it's this cold, you're not going to get down the field. As we look at the different pass charts for Baker Mayfield, it's just not going to get down the field. So we'll take the under 33.5 AB. Thank you very much for that at -122. Then I got 2 more plays. I think there's going to be points tonight. The last 2 weeks, the Packers have averaged nearly, over 30 points a game. So we're going to go first half over 10.5 for the Packers. Then we're going to go full game over 23. I told you earlier today, get it in before it goes to 24. As the guys always tell you, there are really, really important numbers that you don't want to get to. Team totals, 24, that's one of them. So those are my 3 plays. But prop stars, I'm coming to you next. Now, I know you're getting ready to make history here on the show, but somebody in the chat, Javon, is questioning one of your picks, and he doesn't even know it yet. He says, stay away from Watson because Jalen Ramsey is going to sun him tonight. Translation for those hip impaired, he's going to blanket him. He's going to stop him. So, prop stars, I know you love a challenge. Please explain yourself to young Javon.
Showdown is open to young Javon if he's game, so just throwing that out there to Javon. But my prop from this game, my favorite prop from this game, is Christian Watson over 47.5 receiving yards. He's eclipsed this in 4 straight games. He's averaging around 75 receiving yards in the process. He's had 2 100-yard receiving games over the past 4 games. He's running a route on nearly every single Aaron Rodgers drop back. His route participation is excellent. He also has the deepest ADOT. His average depth of target is the deepest of any Packer receiver. What that means is he doesn't require a lot of targets to go over this number because his targets are coming deep down the field. He is capable of making a big catch on minimal work. Also, this is a great matchup. This Rams pass defense is really, really bad. They're 28th in EPA allowed per dropback. They are a much better run defense than pass defense. So teams are choosing to attack the Rams down the field and having a lot of success doing so. We've seen Watson really come on strong lately. This guy looks like a potential star. 2.3 yards per route run. That is absolutely elite. So Christian Watson has really emerged as Aaron Rodgers' go-to number 1 wide receiver, and this is a great matchup. Also, Jalen Ramsey doesn't shadow opposing number 1 wide receivers. He sticks to one side of the field. So while he certainly will match up with Watson at times, he's not going to be just shadowing him back and forth. So Watson will have plenty of opportunities without Jalen Ramsey covering him. And then my next prop, the individual defensive prop that I mentioned, is Leonard Floyd, under 0.75, 3/4 of a sack. That means he has to not record a sack or full sack. If he gets a half sack, we would still cash this prop. He only has 5 sacks on the season this year. No Aaron Donald as well for the Rams. His impact is absolutely tremendous. When he's not on the field, it just makes it much more difficult for Leonard Floyd to take advantage of single coverage or matchups against opposing tackles. So this is a tough spot for Leonard Floyd, who really hasn't been that great of a pass rusher, especially without Aaron Donald on the field. Also, Aaron Rodgers does not get sacked a lot. He's only been sacked 23 times this season. That's 19th in the NFL among starting quarterbacks. So absolutely love Leonard Floyd under 0.75 sacks.
A couple of things. What would you play that number down to?
Leonard Floyd?
I'm kidding. It was just a joke. It was just a joke. Of course, you're going to play it to 0. It's an under. Yes, see it quickly. Go.
Just real quick, Jalen Ramsey's been getting dusted this year. I mean,
Yes.
the only way he stops Christian Watson is if he commits pass interference, which he's been known to do very cleverly and very subtly and not get the call. But I think Christian Watson can dust Jalen Ramsey even if he's on him tonight.
There is no question about that. All right, I'm going to give out our lead data scientist, the speculator. You can see him every single weekday on Early Edge in 5 at 4 p.m. Eastern time. And he believes what all these guys are saying tonight, that in order for the Packers to be successful, what do they have to do? Throw that football. So we're going to play Aaron Rodgers over 223.5 passing yards. Most places it's up to 228 now, 229. He said he still played up to 230. And Aaron Jones over 20.5 receiving yards, minus 105. Right now I just saw it at 21.5. So still in that neighborhood. Mikey, real quick, do you agree with the guys that the way for the Packers to be successful tonight is through the air?
I think it's through the air. I think that they're still going to run the football just because of the way the team is built with the two running backs. But I would like to see them throw the ball more. I think it will lead to more success. What I am afraid that we will see is I'm afraid we will see them run the ball, milk the clock, and wind up in a competitive game that they shouldn't maybe be in. We've seen that from this team time after time so far this year. But I do think that it is attackable through the air. And back to the Watson question for a little bit as far as Ramsey. I don't expect shadowing coverage. In fact, I expect Ramsey to also line up on Allen Lazard quite a bit tonight as well. So just watch out for that. I don't expect him shadowing Watson in this matchup unless for some reason he has already gone off, in which case this prop will have already hit.
Would you like Lazard tonight? 3.5 minus 135, 44.5 minus 105 at all for him, Mikey?
So I do like him. I think that there's too much speculation going to Watson. I think that Watson's number is still likely to get there. I'm going to stay off of it personally, though, just because the team is incredibly healthy coming off the bye. They've got all the receivers out there. They'll 4 of them out there mixing in, including Randall Cobb and the 2 running backs. Jones is healthy catching passes. And what Green Bay does is limit possessions. They run the clock like crazy. They play at the slowest pace here. So while I like it and it seems like a very gettable number, it's a lot like Cole Kmet with Sia yesterday. I feel really good about 3. Not so sure about the 4th one.
Yeah. And we were spot on. That was spot on. It went right down to the end of the game for Cole Kmet yesterday. We mentioned very, very healthy. Dobbs is back for Green Bay tonight, so a full complement. They actually released Sammy Watkins earlier today because of Dobbs being healthy and having a full complement of receivers. All right, so one more play. Gentlemen, I need you all to look up. If you don't mind, look up. Because the voice of God is somewhere. I just don't know where. Are you there, voice of God?
We are here and glad to be here. I tell you that. Now, we have one play. All right, we're going Baker Mayfield over 17.5 completions tonight. I know that sounds crazy, but understand they're probably going to be playing in a negative game script here. And if you saw, look at the pass chart here for Baker Mayfield. This is in the Rams game against the Raiders. If you see, the Rams obviously have him throwing, 10 yards in tight passes, plays that are safe, plays that can get completed, and especially if we can get him in a negative game script in the 3rd and 4th quarter, we are going to get an opportunity to have a ton of short passes over and over, get rid of the run game, and we can really milk these numbers here. So, yeah, Baker Mayfield over 17.5 completions.
All right. I just saw it at 16.5 at one book, so it's still very much in the playable get there. All right. Those are all of our best bets for tonight. But as you guys know, you got to hit the like button for me. If we're going to give out, there is a donkey tonight. Is there a goose tonight, Alex? All right. So we got both same game parlays tonight, but you got to earn it. I need 500 likes. You guys know the drill. Take the chat down, hit that like button, put the chat right back up, and keep on talking amongst yourselves. By the way, AB is producing and also in the chat. So if you have a question for him, go ahead and put it in there. He will answer as well. All right. Alex, I'll start with you because I saw somebody on social media today, and I actually read their explanation, and I said, yeah, I kind of like that. It was Cam Akers under his rushing prop today, 55.5. Is this Packers defense good enough to stop Cam Akers, who I'll be honest with you, some weeks he plays a lot, some weeks he doesn't play a lot?
What it is an inflated number. So I do understand the logic in fading Cam Akers. Cam Akers has been extremely inefficient this season, but what he is being, or what's working for him in his favor is being fed a ton of carries. Also, this Packers run defense is not good at all. They are a huge run funnel. So I do like the idea of fading Cam Akers. He's not getting, or he's averaging like a sub 3.5 yards per carry. My issue is I could see him having 15 to 17 rushing attempts in this game, and it's also a good matchup for him. So it is a big number. I'm just hesitant to fade him because I do anticipate him getting a ton of work against a bad Green Bay run defense.
Okay. I like that explanation. See, let me come to you, Mike. I'm coming to you with the total. The side is at -7.5. We normally don't recommend buying a half a point. I feel like in this instance, it's warranted. What do you think, Sia?
Yeah, a couple things here. I don't think I like that. I mean, I think you could go two different ways here. I was talking to Mike before the show. I think he might be on, I mean, not unofficially, of course, on the Packers side. I think that hook means a lot. I mean, I haven't seen the Packers put it all together, and I understand they're coming off a bye and they're healthy, but the Rams and McVay, they've had a little bit of time now, and it's not like Mayfield is a rookie. Like, I understand he's only been in this system for a week and a half, but this is still a veteran quarterback that can do some things. And if McVay can get the best out of Mayfield, and if the Packers defense shows up like it has all season, they're going to be able to move the ball through the air, through the run. So if anything, I like the 7.5. I actually also, and this is not a play that I've actually bet yet, but I also like the Rams plus 5.5 first half. I especially think McVay can get creative with guys like Tutu Atwell early, some misdirection, some getting to the edges and stuff like that could make this game competitive in the first half. I think 5.5 is a pretty huge number. I understand why it's there, but this Packers team is getting valued that in a way that I'm not 100% sure they should. Let me address something real quick. Jay Kane has been asking in the chat about Skoranic's number at 33.5. If you can shop that, and I only say that, and maybe you can't, but I only say that because it was 32.5 before the show. Then it went down to 30.5. And then I saw it up at 31.5 right after I gave out my play. So if it's 33.5 now, that's fine. That's the limit that I would go to, Jay Kane. Speaking of Jay Kane, and this chat is super hilarious. I don't want to take over the show here, but something really, really funny happened in the chat, and it was by accident. Jay Kane was trying to ask about Skowronek, and his autocorrect changed Skowronek to Slow Romeo, which is a very happy accident considering the fact that Ben Skowronek runs a 4.6 240 and has long blonde locks. If that should be his nickname, and autocorrect did it for Jay Kane. I find that incredibly coincidental and hilarious. So props to Jay Kane for accidentally discovering what his autocorrect could change Skowronek to.
Yeah, I believe there was the same hip-hop artist that was on a festival card with Little Geppetto back in the day. Same name, same type of name. It's crazy how that happens. All right, Mikey, let me come to you because yesterday, one of our cappers, I can't remember who it was on the over in the Broncos game at 36.5. At halftime, it was 6-3. And I had just written it off. And then they went bananas in the second half, scored 30 to cover. Now, tonight, this is another total in the 30s. What do you make of it?
Yeah, the total is interesting here. And, the Broncos game, they had a 1st and goal at the 1 where they did not score a point as well in the first half of that game. That one should have been well over. As far as tonight, though, I haven't attacked the total yet. I do have the slightest of leans to the over. I think this is a 41-point game, essentially. So I'll lean towards the over, but I'll lean that way because of the Packers, not because of the Rams. I would like to lean that way with still leaning pretty heavily on Rams team total under. So I have a pretty massive number on the spread in the game, and we don't have large sample sizes, large enough with this Rams offense and with the motivation currently for me to feel comfortable playing it pregame with the hook here. So I'm going to look and hope that I can get this in game, 4.5, 5.5, 6.5, whatever it may be on the Packers side. The computer number on this is all the way up to 12.
Wow.
Keeping in mind that Green Bay is the single biggest home field advantage in the NFL, especially over a Rams team that's played basically outdoors once in the last 7 weeks in terms of like playing in somewhat close to, there's nothing that's replicated the conditions they will see. So it's a difficult spot, a very well-rested team with Green Bay coming off the bye. So I haven't touched it because normally we'd be on the under. I think they put up enough points individually. I think there's a defensive score in this game as well, or at least a turnover that leads to very, very, very short fields. So the leans are going to be Packers pretty strong and slight lean on the over in the game.
It's a lot of great information, educate and entertain, ladies and gentlemen. Let's do that every single time. Thank you, Mikey. Let's go over to Alex now, because Glenn in the chat said every Rams receiver could go over tonight. No, they can't. But we need to talk about somebody other than Skowronek. So Tutu Atwell, I've been noticing him lately, Alex. And then on the other side, I want you in on Dobbs, because you've been on Dobbs all year. He gets hurt. He's back tonight. Can you talk about those two, either side of the fence?
Yeah, as far as Atwell is concerned, they are kind of utilizing him in some interesting ways. Sort of a gadget type player, can kind of do different things, getting him involved on end arounds, putting the ball in his hands. The Rams are really desperate to find playmakers. Without Cooper Kupp, Allen Robinson, the team's just been decimated with injuries. So we're just seeing a lot of creativity, what will work, trying different things. This is a tough matchup, though. This Green Bay pass defense is very good. And the Rams also run the football a ton. They're a very conservative offense. They play to their strength, which they really don't have one, but if they did, it'd be running the football. So I just don't know how much passing volume there's going to be. I don't really have interest personally in any Rams receivers. If I did, it would be Skowronek. So not in love with Tutu Atwell. As far as Romeo Dobbs, just coming back from an injury, a lot has changed as far as Packers receiving target distribution has gone. Clearly, Christian Watson and Allen Lazard are operating as the 1A and 1B in the passing attack. Just not a lot of passing volume from Green Bay either. They run the ball, play a conservative offense, grind a ton of clock. So I just think wait and see approach with Romeo Dobbs, really just kind of focusing on Christian Watson. And I think Allen Lazard also has a little bit of value. But outside of that, and maybe Aaron Jones, just not a lot of pass-catching value for Green Bay either, in my opinion.
MC Delinquent says, Coach just says nonsense sometimes. Of course they can go over with lines topping out in the 30s. In your career, have you ever seen 6 receivers go on their over all in the same game?
Never.
Exact silence. It was a whole new day. I don't say
definitely
nonsense.
Not a Baker Maker led offense either.
Please, 17.5 completions, and we're talking about 6 receivers going over their yardage total. Stop it. All right, now we need almost 80 more likes. We're not giving you the goose. We're not giving you the donkey, but I am going to go to Mikey real quick. What do you got, Mike?
Yeah, just want to throw it out there because a lot of the live betting I do this a lot in these games, especially when one team isn't very good. You can bet the outcome of the first drive. There are a few different places where you can do this. One of the books has LA's first drive outcome at punt at -275. You can find that at -145 and -155 on a few of the other books. -155 to anywhere under -160, I think, is a pretty fair price for the Rams' first drive to end in a punt. Again, if you watch these, you can bet these live on individual plays as well. But -155, I think, is a pretty fair price for this one.
I cannot believe that number. I thought it'd be like -200 or something. His interception prop, by the way, last time I saw it was like -185 for Baker Mayfield. Like it's up there. It's up there. I encourage you all to follow Mikey on social media because he not only educates you on the show, but then he also does it on social media. But you got to be watching the games live. I can't emphasize that enough. You got to watch them live. Mikey, go.
Yeah, last one on the book that has it at -275 has Green Bay's at -150. So shopping at the other book has the same implied odds for both teams to have a punt on their first possession. And I think we all would agree that these teams are not equally likely to punt on the first drive.
I think we can all agree on that. No doubt. All right. I believe, are we at 500 or we've hit all of the questions. We've hit all of the props. And I think the translation for everybody at home, lean into Green Bay props. And we are fading Baker on a lot of different places. That's kind of the consensus here. Yes.
Coach, we are at 488. So we can give the benefit of the doubt on 10 more likes, but you know what? This is your show, baby. You make the rules here. So there we go.
How many are watching?
1168.
Oh, that's embarrassing.
It's over 500 now.
Okay, that's what I thought. All I had to do was pause
600
for a second.
then.
Yeah, all I did. I think we need to ask for. We routinely have a huge audience on these primetime shows, and yet I have to pull teeth to get you guys hit like you know what it does for us. We don't do it just to ask you. It helps you find the show better on YouTube or Apple or Spotify. It moves our show up to the top. You're welcome. But that's what we use those likes for. It's not a ego thing for us. It's necessity. All right, so we've hit 500. We've hit all the props, so it is that time of the show. We give you 2 different same-game parlays that you can sink your teeth into. So today we're going to start with the donkey. So, Mikey, you are up. Goodness.
All right. A mega donk here because there is a boost where you can max this out. So we always do. Packers money line under 49.5 in the game. Baker Mayfield under 224.5 passing yards. Aaron Jones over 44.5 rushing. AJ Dillon over 29.5 rushing. Aaron Jones over 14.5 receiving. Allen Lazard over 29.5 receiving. Cam Akers under 79.5 rushing yards. Ben Skoranek 14.5. He is the receiver I think that's targeted the most here. And then AJ Dillon, anytime touchdown scorer. Again, leave this off if you want to. Still a nice payout with or without the boost. Last thing I will say about this one, because it came up last night, unfortunately, I can't give everyone info in live real time. We hit everything on the plus 1,000 last night except for the Commanders money line. However, when they had first and goal at the 1 at the end, you could get them you can get the Giants minus 180 on the money line. You hit that, you're guaranteed to win either way. Either you win the minus 180, you win the plus 1,000. Didn't win the plus 1,000, obviously. But watch out here in case we get into that situation with a couple of these, most notably with the total of 49.5.
I could not be more serious about this. There are levels, ladies and gentlemen, to this game. That's all I'm going to say. And by the way, Mikey, can you educate the people at home? When we had a plus 3,400 a couple of weeks ago, what was the only reason we didn't cash that ticket?
Matt Ryan came up 1 yard short. Whether it was Matt Ryan, the scores keeper, whoever it was, we were 1 yard short.
1 yard short, plus 3,400. If you don't think these can hit, you just don't watch the early edge. But for those of you who are new, welcome. We love that you're here. Now, that's not the only same-game parlay that we give out. We've got the donkey. But then on the other side, one of our incredible animals and mascots here at the early edge is called Goose. Usually Goose makes an appearance, but tonight he must be just kind of hanging off camera. Maybe he doesn't want – and by the way, before you start, Javon, I'm not going to pressure you. Certainly not going to bully you into anything. But you started it. And I have yet to see. You know what? If you want a showdown with Alex on the Christian Watson prop, just write, I want the smoke, and give me your Venmo. If you don't have to say anything. But usually when somebody talks trash on one of my guys, they back it up. Alex, yes.
I'll lay him 1.5 to 1 too.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, that just made things a little more interesting.
So what that means is I'll pay him 150 if he wins. He'd pay me 100 if I win.
And what is the number that we're using for Christian Watson?
47.5.
47.5. So, Javon, you've got about 2 or 3 minutes, and I know how long it takes to type in the chat. That's plenty of time to write, I want the smoke, and your Venmo. Alex, time for the Goose.
Let's go. Yeah, Goose has yet to make an appearance. That's his theme music, though. He's usually a show stealer. Hopefully he gets in here before the stream ends. But this is the Goose. The odds pale in comparison to Mikey's Mega Donk, but hopefully we can hit this one. First up, we've got the Packers team total over 17 points. The Rams over 10 points. Aaron Rodgers to throw for at least 195 passing yards. Aaron Jones to have less than 85 rushing yards. Over 40 rushing yards for Cam Akers, over 35 receiving yards for Christian Watson. Ben Skoranek, under 60 receiving yards, hopefully well over 30 in the process. Last but not least, Allen Lazard, over 30 receiving yards. Put it all together, plus 475.
Did I hear you say, and I think I got this quote correctly, this pales in comparison to Mikey's Mega Donkey?
Yeah, like the odds are, not nearly as big as his.
That's what I thought you said. Okay. All right. So we've got the Goose, we've got the Donkey, and then for you out there, sometimes you like to play anytime touchdown props as well. So we like to pick the first one of the game, and all my guys go into the lab. Like, who could score the first touchdown of the game? It is that time. We call it the gym. Alex, you're up first tonight. Who do you like?
I went super chalk, coach. We go Cam Akers plus 1,100 presently on DraftKings. This guy scored 3 touchdowns in the last 2 games, gets a ton of attempts as well. He's kind of the engine of this terrible Rams offense, has 29 carries over the last 2 games, as I mentioned, 3 touchdowns. So I actually thought he was a pretty good value at plus 1,100.
Okay, not bad at all. Voice of God, you are up next. Who do you like tonight?
The voice of God is coming at you. And look, understand, it feels blasphemous, except absolutely this time of the year as well. So we use this as a television term and not anyone praying. Although we could pray that we get actual real referees tonight that don't screw this thing up. All right, I've babbled enough.
Preach.
All right, we are going. Yeah, I know, right? We are going with Tutu Atwell plus 2,800. We spoke about Baker Mayfield and how the Rams passing attack is going to be short and people who catch the ball. Tutu Atwell quickly has garnered Baker's attention and trust. It is a 2-2 night tonight, boys.
Oh, Alex called him gimmicky. He called your pick gimmicky.
You know what? There's a gimmick aspect to this, all right? But you know what? Some of the greatest in the squared circle had nice gimmicks too, and we trusted that. So there we go.
That's true. I once took a figure 2 from Ric Flair because the figure 4 was so bad on my part. Certainly not on
What
his.
was the F5 like? Is that the name of it?
Take the F5 from Brock?
Brock's
Painful. And John Cena had the same move. Just he turned you the other way and put you through a table 3 different times. Thank you, John Cena. All right, now AB's gone. Prop Stars is gone. So M Squared, you're up next. Who do you like tonight?
I like Alan Lazard here. It's mostly just a shopping play on the price. You can find it at plus 1,100 on FanDuel, down to plus 700 on a few of the other books, plus 800, plus 900. I like the range for him, though. I'm very interested to see Green Bay in general. This is the first game all season that they'll have Lazard, Watson, and Dobbs out there on the field together. Still expect it to be Watson and Lazard in all of the 2 wide receiver sets, which we'll see a lot with the running backs that they use. So he's lost a little bit of volume overall, but with that, he's lost a little attention in the red zone as well. So give me Lazard plus 1,100.
Oh, that's a great price and a great pick. There are some studs on the Packers side that we can sink our teeth into. And see ya, Mikey's already done that. Proppy went on the other side. Who do you like tonight?
So disrespectful of M Squared to name all the receivers for the Green Bay Packers in Lazard, Watson, and Dobbs, and not even mention 32-year-old Randall Cobb. Listen, it's cold outside, right? Randall Cobb is plus 2,200. And what do you do when you're cold? You take a cozy blanket, you sit by the fireplace, and you get warm. That's what Randall Cobb is to Aaron Rodgers. He's the fireplace. He's the cozy blanket. He will be the first touchdown on national television. Aaron Rodgers will continue to try to prove that reacquiring Randall Cobb was the move for the Green Bay Packers. I believe it was 3 years, $27 million. It's a lot of money for a 32-year-old Randall Cobb. Let's prove that he's worth it with the first touchdown, plus 2,200.
There is no doubt that Aaron Rodgers will be looking for him as a security blanket. You wonder if it's going to be in the first or second quarter. By the way, Jake the Snake is on Robert Tonyan, so everybody except Prop Stars is on Green Bay tonight. There are our selections. If you want to play along, go ahead and write into the chat and see if you can correctly predict who will score the first touchdown of the game tonight. Now, the other big issue we're having right now, I do not see Javon in the chat whatsoever, even after our producer said it would cost him nothing to go against him. AB said, I'll finance the showdown. Why he do that? I have no idea. But that's what he said. And Javon still it doesn't want the smoke. And that's okay. You don't have to take every showdown. It's okay. And we will not slight you in the slightest. I've never used those 2 words in the same sentence before, but I just did just now. All right, it is almost time for the game to start. Less than 8 minutes away, so we got to recap our best bets for the night. Throw them up on the screen. 15 seconds or less. See ya. Go.
Give me Ben Skoranek over 30.5 receiving yards. I do understand that the Packers' strength is probably the secondary versus the defensive line in terms of stopping the run versus the pass, but they have given up some yards to the likes of the Chicago receivers and the Tennessee Titans receivers as of late. Ben Skoranek, 7 of 8 for 89 yards last week. I think he's the most efficient wide receiver they have on the team, and he's also good at the contested catches. Not a lot of passing volume, but I expect him to get a decent amount of it. Give me over 30.5 receiving yards.
All right, I like that a lot. Prop stars, talk to me.
Yep, we've got Leonard Floyd under 0.75 sacks. That means if he gets less than 1 sack, he can have half a sack, and we'd still cash this prop. Only 5 sacks on the season. No Aaron Donald as well. So this is a tough matchup. Aaron Rodgers also does not get sacked very much. Next up, we've got Christian Watson over 47.5 receiving yards. He's eclipsed this in 4 consecutive games, had 2 100-yard games in the process. He has quickly become Aaron Rodgers' favorite target as well. He has the deepest ADOT of any receiver on Green Bay, and the Rams have given up a ton of production in the back end, and they're 28th in EPA allowed per dropback. So teams are really attacking them downfield. So I think he's going to hook up with Watson for a big catch tonight.
I do too. He has got sprinter type speed. I'll make mine quick. I like the Packers in the first half to go over 10.5, and Packers for the game to go over 23. They've averaged over 30 points a game in their last 2 weeks. I think they're going to open it up. They're coming off a bye week. I think they're going to surprise us. I really, really do. And then I like Baker Mayfield, longest completion under 33.5. To be honest with you, I can't even believe in this weather that this is the number. I thought it would be in the 20s. They just don't have anybody with speed to get far enough downfield to complete a pass of this distance. Then AB is on Baker Mayfield over 17.5 completions. He showed you all the graphics and all the numbers and why it's just going to be dinking and dunking. So both of ours could cash. And then our lead data scientist, Aaron Rodgers, over 223.5 for the speculator. And then Aaron Jones over 20.5. That number's right around 21 as we speak. All right. I like to end every single show asking my guys, what's the number one thing they're looking forward to in tonight's game? Use it for tonight or use it into the future with 3 weeks left in the regular season. Mikey, if you don't mind, start us off.
Yeah, I'm looking to see what kind of sense of urgency the Packers have here offensively when they come out in this game. They're still alive, everything. Obviously, have to win out and do everything perfectly and have a lot of luck. But look, I want to see what they're doing offensively here and how seriously they take this game, and if they keep the foot on the pedal and really try and blow someone out, or if we see a competitive football game.
See, that last thing you said, can somebody please do that one time, finish a game without letting every team back into it? See ya. Talk to me.
I certainly don't want to see Aaron Rodgers wilt away this season. I'd love for him to put up a good game. And we keep talking about guys like Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. Are they going to show up? And it's been weeks and they haven't really shown up yet. So it's certainly now or never. Shout out to the chat and shout out to the Ben Skoranek to Slow Romeo autocorrect. That's the most amazing thing to happen in a YouTube chat this entire day. I promise you that.
Wait a second. Just before the clock strikes 12, Javon was on a phone call. It better have been important to make us wait. But Alex, and he's not even taking the AB. He's going to run it himself. So, Alex, I think we need to say one thing before it becomes official. However, don't we?
Hit the music, AB.
It's gonna be a showdown.
All right, so here's what it looks like for those of you brand new to this show. Javon in the chat. And Javon, I need your Venmo. And it's 1.5 to 1 tonight. The number is 47.5 receiving yards for Christian Watson. If it goes over, Alex wins. If it goes under, Javon wins, and we will Venmo him $150 cold hard cash, no strings attached. So now, Alex, your night just got more interesting. What are you looking forward to?
Love it, Coach. Yeah, if there was ever a matchup for Green Bay to be aggressive, it is this one. The Rams are 6th in EPA allowed per rush, 1st in PFF's run defense grade. Teams that are running against the Rams are not having any success whatsoever. Teams that are going pass heavy are having success. We've seen Green Bay have one of the most conservative offenses in the NFL this season, but this is a matchup for them to get out and attack. I'm just curious to see if Matt LaFleur is going to take the reins off A-Rod, let him throw that ball down the field, hopefully hook up with Christian Watson, and then Javon pays me that $100 by midnight, Coach.
A little savage at the end there. Javon, water's warm, and it's deep. By the way, Matt in the chat says, great show as always, gentlemen. I lost the quote, but it was a nice little, as always, thank you for everything. There you go. You guys are the best. Well, Matt, I say it all the time, but I don't think around Christmas you can say it enough. We get to do this, and we love to do this, but we can't do it if nobody watches. We can't do it if nobody becomes a member. We can't do any of it without all of you. So thank you, as always. But we've got a bunch of tickets to cash tonight as our week ends, because our week starts on Tuesday. Don't forget the Week 16, hard to believe, mega preview is tomorrow at 4:30 p.m. Eastern time. We will break down every single game, and also the breaking news today that Jalen Hurts, in all likelihood, will not play this week against the Dallas Cowboys. That line moved 7 points today when that news came out. We'll discuss it all tomorrow on the mega preview. But in the meantime, let's have a great night. There's only one thing left to do, and I believe you all know what that is. You've got your marching orders. Let's take all of these Monday night tickets straight to the pay window. For my entire crew, love them all. Proppy, M Squared, C in the shot. Jake the Snake, not even here tonight, but we love him too. And AB, always producing, always in the chat, always doing way more than he's asked. We can't do it without him right here. Good luck tonight at the Early Edge.